the only chain which had institutional backing. I'm talking about Standard Bank, I'm talking about Shinhan Bank, I'm talking about the governing council of Hedera, consisting of names like Mondelez, Boeing. That gives us a lot of confidence that, okay, there is some bit of institutional acceptance.
Manish, welcome. It seems like you have some really interesting things going on, so we appreciate you giving us some time.
Thank you so much, Brandon, for inviting me.
So, Manish, we're going to jump right into the questions here. To start, it would be great if you could explain the Vayana business.
Okay, jumping right away, Brandon, if I have to put a one liner to what Vayana is, we are everything B2B. Till about 3 years back, we were everything B2B credit in Web2 sphere. Since the time I have joined, we are now everything B2B credit in Web3 as well as Web2.
Okay, makes perfect sense. The next thing we want to get into is what we're here to talk about today, and that's what you're building on top of Hedera. Can you explain that platform?
Sure. So before Brandon, I explain you that, let me take you through a Vayana journey. We've been a tech service provider from about 2015 to 2017. We started providing ancillary services around our technology, right from origination to credit risk consultancy to monitoring collections to, let's say, giving data science analysis as well. There were compliance needed with respect to supply chain as well as B2B credit. We invested in licenses around compliance so that we can file compliance adherences as well. Invested in a data science company called as Rubix. Over the period of time, whatever we built on Web2, we thought that future of finance would be DLT based. The infrastructure of future of finance would be governed by blockchains, wherein tokens would be moving in the same ledgers as the payments. And that is what we've started building. Whatever we've achieved from 2015 to 2023, we've kind of now rapidly building over Web3 the same kind of layer. So you talk about in B2B credit, the very basic aspect is about digital loans. Okay, so in Web2 it moves in a normal fiat scenario. On a blockchain based, it will be via CBDC, via stable coins. But again, I'm not talking about Bitcoin loans, I'm talking about real world loans. We are B2B credit. Okay, so people really take it off ramped and they use it for their normal day to day lives, normal business purposes as well. We've seen that in B2B credit, emergence of capital markets. It's not just the corporates, but even small and medium enterprises, MMEs, now are accessing capital markets via bonds, via commercial papers. Future of finance would be tokenized bonds, tokenized commercial papers. So we're building that as well. Supply chain finance is moving from anchor to tier one to tier two, tier three, tier four. In a blockchain scenario, the tokens move from one level to another. So we're building deep tier as well. We're building trade digitization modules. In future of finance, when the documents will move on chain, they will be NFT versions of the trade documents. As on today, it moves via a courier. 90% of them, they move physically. Let's say if somebody has to export something from India to USA, they would be sending couriering the entire title of good documents. Future of finance, as we see it, would be NFTs moving from the exporter to the port or to the importers. We're building that as well. So what we're building, we kind of under one umbrella, we call it Vayana Debt Platform. It's got modules phase wise. So it has digital loan module. Phase two, it will have tokenization engine wherein you can tokenize capital markets instruments. We're building a layer of propose to build a layer of deep tier finance as well. Model of electronic trade records, which I talked about, NFTization of trade documents. We're building that as well. So what we achieved in Web2, Brandon, end-to-end B2B credit play, we are trying to replicate that in Web3 as well. So that is what we are in a long answer to your short question. That's what we are building, Brandon.
We've heard about so many things that are happening in the DLT space, from gaming to micropayments, but I hadn't heard about this B2B option that you're obviously putting together. Why did you decide to build this on top of Hedera?
So Brandon, the in fact, I did not have choice, Brandon. The very we the company Vayana has been laser focused right from 2015 to solve one problem only, which is B2B credit. Okay, has it achieved, or has it moved from what it was in 2015? Yes, but miles to go. I mean, some of the statistics puts the deficit even now at $4 trillion. Some of them put it even higher. So there's plenty of things to do even in B2B credit. Till the time we are not achieving it, we will not deviate from this laser focus of B2B credit. So as I mentioned in my earlier answer, the future of finance will move from the current Web 2 to the Web 3 sphere. So we will be sticking to web 2 b2b credit sphere. Yes, we've seen a lot of deviations wherein players who started like ours, they moved on to real estate, they moved on to art, they moved on to, let's say, launching a stable coin. We are sticking to our core, which is solving b2b credit. Like I said, we've not stopped building. We build the digital loan module, then the tokenization engine. We're building now the deep tier supply chain finance engine. Parallelly, we're thinking of trade digitization engines as well. It was a no-brainer, Brandon. So I've been a banker all my life. I was with HSBC and DBS. When I joined Web3, this was about 3 years back, Brandon. All of a sudden, in the next 1.5 years, I saw the domino blocks falling one after another. It was FTX. It was uh, some random company falling every couple of months. The only chain which had institutional backing, I'm talking about Standard Bank, I'm talking about Shinhan Bank, I'm talking about the governing council of Hedera, consisting of names like Mondelez, Boeing. Okay, that gives us a lot of confidence that okay, there is some bit of institutional acceptance. That time, this is one chain which is getting some bit of multinational institutional acceptance. That is one. Second, we chatted with many blockchains, Brandon. The kind of support we were getting from Hedera, right from the top management getting involved, liking our use cases, hand holding us, assigning a relationship manager, partnership manager, taking us through the Hedera system, introducing us to the tech libraries of Hedera, allocating us an engineer, a project framework. I think that entire methodology of Hedera helped us a lot. Plus, importantly, the initial POCs, Brandon, that we were doing around USDC stablecoin. One of the few blockchains where USDC was native was Hedera. Of course, transaction per second as well as gas fees certainly helps. These are some of the reasons, and for us choosing Hedera, and we have not looked behind.
Let's get back to the VDP. Who are some of the partners that are involved with this, and why were they interested in Vayana's debt platform?
Sure. So that's a very interesting question, Brandon. So initially, our premise was to go as a technology service provider, but Web3 as an industry is changing every 3 months. For that matter, if the flavor of the season is real estate tokenization, now you don't know what's going to happen 3 months later. The industry that we are catering to is Web2 native. For them, Web3, anything you talk about blockchain, you talk about MetaMask, Brandon, it's all Greek and Latin to them. Okay, they are just not looking at only technology service provider. They're looking at an ecosystem. So if I'm going to a bank and I'm giving them a technology, let's say Vayana Debt Platform as a SaaS or as an enterprise package, they just don't want the technology. They want ecosystem around it as well. So, for example, can Manish you introduce us to a regulated stablecoin provider or reasonably one which will not go bust? Can Manish you help us distribute the asset which we will be tokenizing? Is there a alternate fiat layer that you can get in? Is there a deposit token layer that you get in? So luckily in the Hedera ecosystem as well, we found our informal partners. We don't have formal partnership with them. So for example, our checks, okay, we've got an informal partnership with them wherein if at all we tokenize real world asset stuff, they will be able to distribute to their partners in Europe. We are part of the Mastercard deposit token cohort as well. So alongside a settlement layer of Hedera, I do give an option of a deposit token Mastercard layer as well. USDC. In fact, we share a common investor, Marshall Wace, which who has invested in us as well as in Circle. By virtue of that, USDC is also one of our partners. We've tied up with few custody partners as well, because whenever we go to an institution, they may not have a custody set up by themselves, so they need an introduction there as well. So these are some of the partners, Brandon, that we work with. These are the partners on the vendor or let's say the ecosystem side. The Vayana Debt Platform's value would come out of the early Web3 fintechs who've been lending or who've been aiding capital market services in Web2, and all of a sudden they are hearing Web3 everywhere. They want to taste it, and that's where, as against building it by deploying engineers on by themselves, they come to people like us. We give them the technology and they deploy. Another segment that see value in partnering with us would be certainly banks, and that is where Hedera's interest is. You already know, Brandon, over the last 4 months since there's a regime change in US, all of a sudden there's a spike of institutional interest in future of finance, which is DLT based. who's who of MNC banks are thinking of launching a stable coin, or getting a custody set up, or doing something or the other rapid POCs. So these are our partners as well. We tell them, as against, let's say, hiring 200 set of engineers, as against doing your 6 9 months of homework to work on the technology, just partner it with us. We will keep on developing because we've got that headway of 3 years, and we will, we will make it happen from a future of finance perspective. So these are some of the partners, Brandon, on the vendor side as well as, let's say, on the sales side.
Very exciting. Obviously, you're serious about what you're doing. When is VDP going to come to market, and what's that rollout going to look like?
So Brandon, as a matter of fact, VDP is live. We are looking for partners on Hedera. Okay, I can deploy in 1 hour's time. So it's India time, 6:40 p.m. If there is some interest coming in, if there is, I mean, through you, I want to send a message out to the entire Hedera community as well as whoever is watching your podcast. If there is anyone who's interested to go live on Hedera in a B2B credit use case, we're talking about digital lending, using CBDCs, without using CBDCs, using USDC stablecoins, tokenizing commercial papers, bonds, tokenizing of equity shares. You're thinking of deep tier supply chain finance. You're talking about M-letter, model of electronic trade records. The earlier part of what I told, I can go live in next 1 hour. Deep tier supply chain finance and M-letter, which is we are working on. If you have an interest and going live on Hedera in let's say a couple of months time, we can go live in that as well. But we are looking for partners on Hedera. So message a request to the entire Hedera community. If there is some bit of interest, talk to us.
All right, so you are ready to go.
Yeah.
Manish, this has been a really fascinating conversation. Is there anything else you'd like to pass on?
No, at the moment, fingers crossed, looking to go live on Hedera as soon as we can. And the proof of pudding will be in its eating. I'm very excited to go live on Hedera. And perhaps we can have, Brandon, one more session after we go live and we share our experience of how Hedera fared over the few months with us.
Well, of course, you're always welcome back. I pride myself on knowing everything that's happening within the Hedera ecosystem, but I just learned about Vayana a few weeks ago. I appreciate you coming on here today and telling us about it, and thank you for building on Hedera.
Thank you so much for the invitation, Brandon.
I'm now posting these interviews of Hedera builders independently to my channel. The community, influencers, and media outlets are free to use this content to spread the word on what's being built on Hedera. Once they're all uploaded, you'll be able to go to my channel and search for whatever topic or team you're interested in to find more information. Or you'll be able to get the most recent Hedera news by watching the latest HBAR Weekly update. So check them out.